morning. Welcome to Unitarian Universalist Church West. We gather this morning to celebrate and honor the Earth's sacred cycle of life, death, and regeneration. We gather to honor and celebrate Samhain, a holiday which marks the final harvest and the beginning of a new year. I'm the Reverend Suzelle Lynch, minister of UU Church West. If this is your first time among us, we are glad that you are here. If you enter this virtual worship space as a homecoming, it is a great pleasure to greet you as well. We cherish the presence of every person who is with us. Take a moment, if you would like, to send an email to visitor@uucw.org, and we'll send you more information about our congregation. I would like to introduce to you the great team of people who created and are continuing to create our worship service this morning. With us here in the live Zoom room, we have Sarah Stokes and David Stokes. Here they are. Also from our EarthSpirit team, the people who helped put the service together today include Kathy Bradshaw, Michelle Guthrie, Marilyn Kupka, Amy Dito, Eddie Daniel, Melissa Musante, Melissa Taylor, and Sean Fanning. Our musicians are handpan players and composers Sarah Fry, Christy Vosberg, and Russell Anderson. And we also have music today from Leah Morris, a singer and composer. And of course, Jennifer Nicolosi, our lead music director, helped coordinate all of that music. We also have with us behind the scenes, Kelly Bognar, our publications coordinator, who manages the technology that makes everything possible when we're online, doing our online worship. So it's good to have that great team with us here. I'd also like to say that one of the sources of nourishment for mind and spirit we Unitarian Universalists turn to is the teachings of earth-centered religions, which celebrate the sacred circle of life and instruct us to live in harmony with the rhythms of nature. Our service today is dedicated to this source. Many of you received an envelope from us in your postal mail last week with materials for the service today, or perhaps you downloaded them as well as the order of service using the link in the e-news or the Spirit Lifter. If you did not, you can look that up and try to find it, but it's not required. The materials were just simply designed to add beauty to the service and actually allow you to honor Samhain at home. With those materials, you would find this beautiful Samhain placemat created by Michelle Guthrie, and also a ritual kit, which includes some strips of feast paper, instructions, and information about setting up an ancestor altar. So if you didn't receive that, those links will still be available after the service. And now, with the cool autumn breezes and the shared warmth of spirit, let us bring our energies and our memories to this community of hope and wholeness. And let us create a sacred circle in which to do our Samhain ritual by calling the directions and kindling the flame in our chalice.
Hail, spirits of the east, powers of air, please come in. Bless us with your gifts of hearing, smell, and enlightenment. Witness our work this sacred day and help open our hearts to understanding.
Hail, spirits of the south, powers of fire, please come in. Bless us with your gifts of sight, trust, and learning. Witness our work this sacred day and help open our hearts to passion.
Hail, spirits of the west, powers of water, please come in. Bless us with your gifts of taste, strength, and self-knowledge. Witness our work this sacred day and help open our hearts to feeling.
Hail, spirits of the north, powers of earth, please come in. Bless us with your gifts of touch and intuition. Witness our work this sacred day and help open our hearts to wisdom.
Hail, spirits of the center, essence within all things, please come in. Bless us with your gifts of mystery and wonder. Witness our work this sacred day, and help us open our hearts to all that may come.
Our chant today is Blood of the Ancients. Sing along if you'd like. It's the blood of the ancients that flows through our veins, and the forms change, but the circle of life remains. It's the blood of the ancients that flows through our veins, and the forms change, but the circle of life remains. It's the blood of the ancients that flows through our veins, and the forms change, but the circle of life remains. It's the blood of the ancients that flows through our veins, and the forms change, but the circle of life remains. It's the blood of the ancients that flows through our veins, and the forms change, but the circle of life remains.
When I was a kid, one of the chores my mom gave me was setting the table for dinner. Plates, cups, knives, forks, spoons, set out on our old round table in the kitchen. Wasn't very exciting, really. Pretty much always the same old thing. Unless we had guests coming for dinner, that is. When guests were coming over, we would eat on the big, beautiful oval table in the dining room. My mom would pull out a lovely tablecloth and smooth it over the surface. There was always a centerpiece of flowers and sometimes candles as well. And if the guests were really special, she would set a stack of the good china plates on the table and supervise us closely as my sisters and I placed them one by one. There was fancy silverware too, and crystal wine glasses to set near each plate. I loved helping set the table when we had guests coming, because the special preparations we made for them made me feel special too. Being trusted with the china plates, helping put the crystal glasses on the table, and of course, I got to sit at that beautiful table with my family and our special guests. Most years, as we celebrate Samhain, the children of our church help us set a beautiful table in the sanctuary. And we set that table each year to welcome the spirits of our ancestors to come and spend time with us with love and respect. Let me show you a couple of pictures of that table from past years. So here we have some of our children helping set the table for our ancestors in the sanctuary. You can see it's a big table with plates all the way around. It's beautiful. Oh, and here we have us blessing the table. With our children. And there's a table from another year from Samhain. So this year, the coronavirus means we have to be apart. So we did send everybody on the church mailing list the information that they needed to set up a special table for their ancestors at home. And I'd like to show you now a few of those special tables that people set at home. They are beautiful. And as I do this, let me remind you that it's not too late to set up a table for your ancestors at home, an ancestor altar, as we call it. Because even though we're celebrating Samhain at UUCW today on October 25th, the ancestors will still be ready to come and visit for at least another week. So here's some beautiful altar tables. Look at this one. Look at that beautiful centerpiece with the candle and the different elements. And here's one of memory and love for multiple members of a family. It's wonderful to see how people created these altars. Those of you who got the mailing know that this one is the one in my household. That's my mom and dad's wedding picture. Here's another one, very different, with using our Samhain beautiful placemat. And look at this one, just set with love and respect. This one even has wine for the person, for their ancestors to drink. Here's one with gorgeous vines, and again using our placemat, which is also a coloring page. So if you have kids or you are a kid, we encourage you to color that beautiful placemat. Here's another special china, beautiful items set out in honor of the ancestors. Now, this is not an ancestor altar, but this is one of our ancestors, Alice Bennett, who passed away recently, and a table full of cards, which came for her 90th birthday. And this is another way that we're honoring this person who recently joined the ancestors, Miss Alice, and there's her little dog, Cinnamon, too. It's wonderful to see the pictures of ancestors and the beauty people have created to remember them. These ancestor altars are very beautiful and welcoming, and we do encourage you to make one at home if you haven't already. It's very moving to make my own, and I hope you'll join in having that experience. They are a wonderful way to honor and remember people we love who have died.
Let us enter more deeply into the spirit of the season now. Like our ancient human ancestors, we understand that our lives are interwoven with the seasons and cycles of nature. We know that we belong to the earth.
The lives of our ancestors moved according to the seasons of planting, growing, and harvesting their crops. For them, time was circular. It was a cycle of life, death, and regeneration that flowed on and on, guided by the earth, the moon, and the sun. The festivals they held at important times during the year honored their gods and raised the energy needed to keep the circles and cycles moving as they should. Our ancestors understood themselves as partners with the great forces of the cosmos.
Samhain, the festival we honor today, was the new year for the ancient Celtic peoples. It ushered in the year's dark half and was the threshold of winter. At Samhain, shepherds and cattle herders would bring the animals down for summer pastures to shelter at the stables. Some animals were slaughtered, and their meat preserved for lean times. Death, represented by the reaper of the grain and the falling of the leaves, was a natural element of the season.
The legends say that Samhain, the veil that shields the world of the living from the world of the dead, would become thin, and that the spirits could cross the veil into the living world. And so the ancient people would set extra places at the table and set out food from the recent rich harvest so the spirits of their loved ones could join the feast.
When Christianity rose in the British Isles and Europe many centuries ago, the traditional celebration of Samhain was overlaid by the church with the holiday of Hallowmas, or All Saints' Day, to commemorate the souls of the blessed dead who had been canonized that year. The following day became All Souls' Day, when prayers were to be offered to the souls of all of the departed and those who were waiting in purgatory for entry into heaven. Some say that our modern custom of trick-or-treating derives from an old British custom from going house to house, begging for souls' cakes in exchange for saying prayers for the souls of the household's dead, to help them get out of purgatory and into heaven.
We know the Halloween's traditions come from sources that are more ancient and grounded in the earth's power. We also know that Samhain was not only a time of feasting and remembrance, but also a time of preparation for the darker, colder half of the year that was soon to come. These preparations were matters of life and death in those times, and the cold and darkness could bring very hard times, not only for one's own family, but also for their entire village or clan.
But the darkness also held great beauty. In the darkness, our ancestor spirits might hint at the future and reveal the predictions about what was to come. Thus, Samhain was, and still is, a time of new beginnings, a time to set intentions, and a time to imagine possibilities.
Honor the dark as you do the light. Receive the gifts that come to us by day and by night. I choose to honor the dark, uncertainty and change. Deliver us from fear until only love remains. Honor the dark as you do the light. Receive the gifts that come to us by day and by night. I choose to honor the dark, uncertainty and change. Deliver us from fear until only love remains. Honor the dark as you do the light. Receive the gifts that come to us by day and by night. I choose to honor the dark, uncertainty and change. Deliver us from fear until only love remains. Honor the dark as you do the light. Receive the gifts that come to us by day and by night. I choose to honor the dark, uncertainty and change. Deliver us from fear until only love remains. Honor the dark.
Such a beautiful song from Leah Morris. For more from Leah, go to thisisleah.com. Samhain is a holiday that speaks to my soul. When I was a child, Halloween, that popular culture version of Samhain, was a time when my sisters and I relished the opportunity to take on new identities, strange new identities, and roam the neighborhood in the mysterious darkness, demanding candy at every doorstep. When I learned as an adult that the ancients believed Samhain marked the time when that veil between the land of the living and the land of the dead grew thin, I understood. reverence for the otherworldly, reveling in the darkness, and the suggestion that those who had died were not forever lost to us. These things felt intuitively right. And they became more right each year with the deaths of people I love. Samhain gives me a time each year to honor them. It's a time to pause amid life's relentlessness and let my aching heart find solace. So many of us have experienced the deaths of people we love. Though we long to bring them back, instead we must embark on the journey of grieving. And as we travel grief's road, we lament. But as we continue to remember and honor our loved ones, the loss begins to shift. It transforms into a love that fills us up from the inside. Samhain, as we observe it here in our UUCW community, is a ritual to help us honor and remember those we have lost. It's a ritual to help loss transform into that deep inner love. There is no magic that can bring the dead back to life, but our love, our work, and our willingness to accompany each other on the journey brings new life to us all. And when we've lost a loved one in this time of terrible separation due to the pandemic, the Samhain ritual of remembrance can be especially helpful. As the wheel of the year turns this season, we turn with that wheel. Our ancestors would remind us that we're part of nature, not separate from nature. They would encourage us to hold fast to the light within us that shines even when the shadows around us are deep. And they would invite us to remember that this journey into the darkness is not something to fear. Let us take a few moments in meditation to invite our ancestors to be with us.
Most ancient ancestors, you who began in the savannas of Africa 200,000 years ago, you whose DNA is in our very bones, we call back through the vast reaches of time to you, back through recorded history, back before the Romans fought and fell, before city, republic, and empire, back before the fertile lands between the Tigris-Euphrates were cultivated and cultures rich and vast sprang up, back before the taming of the wild horses, before the land bridges to the Americas was crossed, before all these things, we call to you. We call to you, O ancestors, and we invite you to breathe with us this day as we inhale and exhale the very same air you once breathed. We ask for you to be with us in the realization that our bodies are made from the same star stuff that your bodies were made of. And we thank you for your gifts and for your survival. We thank you for your minds bright and shining, words clever, hands working just as our hands work today. Ancestor spirits, the days are growing colder and the nights longer. As the leaves fall from the trees, the crops go brown, and the land goes dormant, we prepare to enter the dark time. Will you walk with us until the sun returns? Will you help us take care of our families and our communities? Will you remind us of our intentions and our promises? Oh, ancestors, we thank you for your presence and your guidance this day.
we promise to bring our hearts and hands into the service of those who need us as winter's dark and cold draws us in. We promise to take up your vision and your values to help shape a world that is more peaceful, fair, equitable, and free for all people, for all beings. Shalom. Blessed be. Amen. And Ashe.
When our ancestors set extra places at the table at this time of year, food from the recent rich harvest was set out to feed the spirits of any loved ones who had passed away. Earlier, we showed you the table we set for the ancestor spirits at past Samhain services at UUCW and some of the beautiful ancestor altars that our members created. We hope you had the chance to create an altar or table setting at home too, but it's okay if you didn't do it yet, or if you don't wish to do it at all. You can still participate in the ritual with us, or simply enjoy watching.
The first part of our ritual of remembrance is an opportunity to honor an ancestor or someone you care about who has died by offering them your words of remembrance. The second part of the ritual is a time to ask the ancestors for their guidance as we cross the threshold into the earth's dark half, the ancients' New Year. I invite you now to pull out the little strip of paper that came with your Samhain kit. It's printed with pictures of fruit and vegetables and bread and goodies for today's Feast of Remembrance. If you don't have that slip of paper, you can use any piece of paper you have. In a moment, we are going to take a few moments in silence to think of someone we care about who has passed away. This could be a friend or a family member, or perhaps even someone you didn't know personally, but are choosing to remember today because they inspire you. Please listen now carefully to these instructions.
As you meditate on the person you're remembering, think about a message or a blessing you'd like to give them. It could be, I miss you, or maybe a simple thank you. You could think of something you loved about them, or perhaps the legacy they left you that you are doing your best to carry on in the world. Then take your strip of feast paper and write the person's name and the message or the blessing on the back of it. And when you're ready, simply place your message on your ancestors' plate on your altar table and continue to reflect on them as you listen to our special music. So let's do it now. Think about our messages and write them on our strips of paper. When you've finished writing your little strip of paper, your message, we invite you to fold them so that they might stand up. if you're placing them on your altar. Or you can just lay them down. At church, after the Samhain service, we usually burn these strips of paper. Sometimes the children help me do it as a way to kind of send the messages to our ancestors skyward with the smoke. You might choose to do that at home or save your strip of paper for remembrance in other ways. But now let us hear both our special music and dance performance and then a thought-provoking reading from Irish poet and philosopher John O'Donohue. As you enjoy these offerings, we invite you to hold your beloved ancestors in your hearts and to feel their presence near you. If you like, you might consider any questions that you might have for your ancestors, or questions or issues you need guidance on, because that's the second part of our ritual of remembrance, is seeking guidance from the ancestors. You might begin to formulate a question, such as, what do I need to do about this particular concern I have? Or what can you tell me about my current course of action regarding this particular situation in my life? Or it could even be just something really simple, like, what guidance do you have for me, O ancestor? As you enjoy our music and dance and our reading now, hold your ancestors in your heart. Take me back, O hills I love. Lift me from this lonely bed. Light my way with stars above. Curl soft winds about my head. Wash my feet in crystal streams. Cradle my arms in boughs of oak. Breathe the scent of pine for dreams. Wrap me tight in earth and cloak. Take me back, O hills I love. Lift me from this lonely bed. Light my way with stars above. Curl soft winds about my head. Wash my feet in crystal streams. Cradle my arms in boughs of oak. Breathe the scent of pine for dreams. Wrap me tight in earth and cloak. Take me back, O hills I love. Lift me from this lonely bed. Light my way with stars above. Curl soft winds about my head. Wash my feet in crystal streams. Cradle my arms in boughs of oak. Breathe the scent of pine for dreams. Wrap me tight in earth and cloak. Take me back, O hills I love.
Take me back, oh hills I love. Lift me from this lonely bed. Light my way with stars above. Curl soft winds about my head. Watch my feet in crystal streams. Our reading today is from John O'Donohue. It's called Perhaps Our Friends Among the Dead Are Blessing Us. I imagine that one of the great storehouses of blessings is the invisible neighborhood where the dead dwell. Our friends among the dead now live where time and space are transfigured. They behold us now in ways they never could have when they lived beside us on earth. Because they live near the source of destiny, their blessings for us are accurate and penetrating, offering a divine illumination not available according to the calculations of the given visible world. Perhaps one of the surprises of death will be a retrospect view of the lives we lived here, and to see how our friends among the dead clothed us in weave after weave of blessing. In folk culture, there is a huge power attributed to the curse. When invoked, a curse could kill someone. If dark intent can travel the negative path to hit its target, should the bright intention not be as capable of traveling the creative path to heal the loved one? It is impossible to underestimate the power of the human mind and the forces it can unleash. It seems that time behaves differently when blessing is invoked. When we find ourselves in extreme and gather our mind and call out, something comes awake in the highest regions of destiny.
Samhain is a transformational period between light and dark, and a window of connection between the living and the dead. And like a window, this time of year provides an opening, a pause in time when our intuition may be at its strongest. It's a perfect time to ask for guidance from the ancestors or to simply request guidance from our inner selves. To help with this, we provided a special little oracle card in a sealed envelope with the Samhain ritual kit that we mailed to the folks on the church mailing list last week. Again, if you didn't receive the kit, have no fear. There's a way you can consult the oracles too, which I will show you in just a moment. Some of us may think that consulting ancestors or oracle cards is silly. And my answer to that is, of course it's silly. It's a playful practice, but it's also a serious practice. It has a basis in the way human psychology works. The oracle cards work on the principle that our subconscious mind already holds the guidance that we seek. Our deep inner knowing isn't always accessible to the conscious mind, though, perhaps especially now when there's so much anxiety and stress in the air due to the upcoming elections, maybe, and the continuing pandemic, most certainly. The symbols and words of wisdom that are on our little oracle cards have been created to help draw your inner wisdom to the surface. And who knows, perhaps the great cloud of ancestors guided our hands in sending you exactly the right oracle card. To seek guidance, it's best to ask your question clearly and directly. Open-ended questions are best, like the ones I mentioned earlier. What do I need to do about this particular concern? What can you tell me, ancestors, about my current course of action regarding this particular issue? Or simply hold your concern in your mind and say, what guidance do you have for me, oh ancestor? Avoid yes or no questions. All of these instructions are in your order of service. Please take out your sealed oracle card envelope now. And if you don't have one, just sit tight. We'll give you the means to accessing the online oracles in a second. So take a moment to formulate your question and hold it in your mind. Got my envelope here too. And then open your envelope and see what the ancestors have to say to you. And David and Sarah and I are not necessarily going to tell you what our questions are, but we'll show you our oracle cards. Go ahead, you guys.
Mine says, stories, a fairy tale or myth can provide some guidance now.
I have sun. What is brightest is only half the story. At sunset, the other half is revealed to you.
Ooh. And mine says near. What you hope for will soon be fulfilled. Now, for those of us who do not have an oracle envelope, let me show you how you can access the oracles. We have an online oracle spinner created by our fabulous Kelly Bognar. And the link to this oracle spinner is there's an article under the news tab at our website, uucw.org. And this will be available, for at least a while. And this link is permanent. It just won't always be available under the news tab. So go to the news tab, click on the article about this, and then click on the link for the spinner. So if we say, oh, ancestors, what guidance do you have for me? And then tap the wheel. The wheel is spinning. And card is popping up. Stories. A fairy tale or myth can provide guidance now. You can spin again if you wish. You can also click the remove button and remove that particular card. But the ancestors get impatient if it seems like you're fishing for a particular answer. So always best to spin once, hold your question clearly. So we hope you enjoy the oracle spinner and feel free to share it with others.
Thank you, Suzelle.
Thank you as well.
Because our ancient ancestors honored the earth that gave them life and provided everything they needed for survival, no ritual would be complete without some kind of offering or sacrifice. We offered a feast of our love and remembrance for our ancestors today, but we also invite you to give something of your life energy to our congregation. Marilyn Kupka will tell you more. Our UU Church West Split the Plate program is one of outreach and generosity. Each month we give half our undesignated offering funds to a different nonprofit organization. This helps us live our values and serve our community. This month we are giving to Housing Resources Incorporated, an organization run by and for people in our area who have marginalized identities. Housing Resources has helped many people achieve the dream of homeownership for nearly 3 decades. To support Housing Resources this month, or anytime this month, simply go to our website, UUCW.org, and click on the Donate tab. Then select Split the Plate from the menu provided. You can text or mail your donation today using the information you see on your screen. You can also make a payment on your pledge or donation to the church using these methods. Thank you so very much for your generosity to UU Church West and Housing Resources Incorporated.
To honor our ancestors is sacred work. We are so glad to be together today to begin to turn the wheel of the year to its next phase. In today's circumstances, this work is perhaps especially important. Staying grounded in the earth will carry us no matter what comes.
Our work here is coming to an end. Let us thank the ancestors and the spirits and release those who have come to help us this day. Spirits of the North, powers of Earth, thank you for your help and your presence. We release you from this circle.
Spirits of the West, powers of water, thank you for your help and your presence. We release you from this circle.
Spirits of the South, powers of fire, thank you for your help and your presence. We release you from this circle.
Spirits of the East, powers of air, thank you for your help and your presence. We release you from this circle. Spirits of the center, essence within all things, thank you for your help and your presence. We release you from this circle. In earth-centered religions, when a circle like this one comes to an end, it is traditional to return the energy raised in the course of the ritual to the earth so that it might be used again by the ancestor spirits, by the planet, for growth, for divination, for regeneration, or in other ways. In our earth-centered circles, we do this by stomping our feet on the ground, and we often use a song to help us do that. So today we'll be using the chant, Air I am, Water I am, Fire, Earth, and Spirit I am. So please sing along with me as we stomp our feet and sing Air I am. Air I am, water I am, fire, earth, and spirit I am. Air I am, water I am, fire, earth, and spirit I am. Air I am, water I am, fire, earth, and spirit I am. Air I am, fire I am, water, earth, and spirit I am. Air I am, fire I am, water, earth, and spirit I am. Air I am, fire I am, water, earth, and spirit I am.